increasing truck traffic on mountain roads and an existing rail line that is antiquated. Italian newspaper La Stampa reported earlier this week on a leaked audit of the project that claims it'll cost 7 billion euros more than it would make over a 50-year period. The five-star infrastructure minister stating nobody should dare to sign off on advancing this line. We would consider this a hostile act. He hails from Luigi Di Maio's party, the same Luigi Di Maio who opposes the Lyon-Turin high-speed rail tunnel, by the way, also pushing for a Hyperloop train through his stronghold of Sicily. Every morning I wake up and I think how it's faster to go from Palermo to Catania flying through Rome, he is quoted as saying on the website of Palermo Today. So Ignazio Corrao, this issue of the Lyon-Turin rail line, you have Di Maio against that, but in favor of a Hyperloop in Sicily. Why is that?
Di Maio is absolutely right. Actually, I am from Sicily, so I cannot be more agreeing with him. You have to think that to connect, two of the biggest cities of Italy, like Palermo and Catania, you really have old and broken infrastructure. So, and to dig a tunnel of 60 kilometers in order to have a train that bring goods for 20 minutes less the time that it's required now, I think is not a priority for Italy.
It's not 20 minutes. It's going to cut the time in half. It's 4 hours to 2 hours is the idea.
No, it's 20 minutes less. This is what the cost benefits analysis says. So we think it's not a priority for Italy to have this kind of infrastructure. Of course, if we first do the infrastructures that are required, then we can think about this. But this is a project of 30 years ago. Can I do an example? We have the European capital of culture, Matera, that is not connected by train with the capital of Italy, Rome. We have all the infrastructure in all the islands. We have Sardinia without an highway. We have places of Italy that are totally disconnected.
But it just so happens, Ignazio, that the political base of Di Maio is in Sicily, and the political base for Matteo Salvini is in the north. He's in favor of the Lyon-Turin project. So is this a domestic problem?
No, it's not really like this. You have to think that the mayor of Turin is from the five-star movement, and the no TAV, so the movement against this train, was based in Piedmont. We are a movement which is represented in all regions of Italy. We are not a regional movement like League is. So this is not the point. The point is there is a part of the establishment in Italy who make pressure for this infrastructure because it's a lot of money that could be spent. And when in Italy there are a lot of money to be spent, normally there are someone who's really interested on putting their hand on it. So we are pretty careful on investing that money on the priority our country have, and the priority our country have is not this train, but are the infrastructure that connect people and make life better for the Italian people. Then we can think about other things.
All right, the French government doesn't see it that way. They see it as a domestic row between Italian coalition partners. Let's listen to the government spokesperson.
In principle, we will never do what Mr. Salvini and Mr. Di Maio expect from us, spend all our time commenting on their remarks. What I can say, it is a project that has been in the works for some time. It is an important project for both our countries, equally for quality of commercial exchanges as quality of our connection.
Christian Blasberg, you agree with Benjamin Griveaux or with Ignazio Corrao?
Me? Yes. I believe that these kind of trains surely are made also in other parts of Europe. So I'm not the let's say, completely against the TAV project, even though, of course, the arguments that the Five Star Movement has brought forth are not to be completely ignored. So one has to discuss about these things. And I believe that some kind of solution in the very end has to be found on this. And the two parts should come together. The two countries should come together.
Is it a domestic issue? Is it an Italian issue, or
yes.
is it a Franco-Italian issue? This row over whether or not to build this rail tunnel.
Well, I believe that in this moment, of course, when we connect it with the interventions and the various clashes between France and Italy in this moment, this is one of the issues where you can play on. I believe that once the elections are over, the whole thing will not be debated as hot as it is now. So it is also, in this case, for sure, a matter of electoral campaign to play very much on this card. So to individuate as in a certain sense, France as a country which has a very weak political establishment, where the president is under pressure, where radical forces are on the street and are in parliaments, and where, let's say, something can be gained, something can be done, and so one takes whatever kind of issue, if it is Libya, if it's the TAV, if it is any other thing, if it's the migrant question, you take whatever issue in order to try and underline this kind of opposition and try to destabilize somehow the French political system. This is, let's say, an operation which is a political operation, but I believe it is just due to electoral campaign. It is almost normal, I would say, for electoral campaigns, and we will see that once the electoral campaign is over, the tones will for sure calm down somehow.
Now, critics of the French president would say the electoral campaign started early on this side of the Alps. It was July, before a joint session of France's parliament and the Senate at Versailles, that the president seemed to be laying the fault lines for next May's European elections.
It must also be said clearly, the real border across Europe today is the one separating the progressives from the nationalists.
The progressives from the nationalists, and everybody understood that when he made those remarks, Philippe Turrell, as being directed at the likes of Italy.
Well, you have to look at it this way. You have to look at it the fact that Angela Merkel, who is Macron's main ally in Europe, is on the way out. Macron is beginning to feel a little bit more isolated as the main pro-European, pro-EU president, who is trying to fight off a lot of populism, be it in Italy, be it the Brexit campaign in the United Kingdom, being what's going on in Hungary or certain East European countries, feeling, I think, more and more isolated and saying, I'm like the bastion now who's going to stand up for Europe. We don't even know what's going to happen in Germany afterwards. So I think it's that's the main issue. That's why Macron's troops are fighting back against this. And I think there's another issue in all this as well, and that is that within Italy itself, as we've been saying, there's some infighting going on between the Five Star Movement and its rival over who is going to command its majority, and for the European election campaign, which is coming up on the 26th of May. So on one side, they want to get Marine Le Pen on board to make this greater European far-right populist movement, and on the other side, Luigi Di Maio wants to cash in on the Yellow Vest movement, as we've been saying, so that he has some support.
All right, that's over in Italy. Olivier Costa, is this a crisis of Emmanuel Macron's own making? Is he feeling a boomerang effect? After all, it was Macron back last June who initially made that comment about a rising leprosy in Europe.
I'm not sure that the comment was really directed towards Italy. I think it's quite an objective view on the current situation of European integration, with a growing number of countries expressing quite nationalist view, and a reducing number of countries who are strictly supporting the EU as it is. And it's true that Macron feels a bit isolated in that story, and he really wants to frame the next European election as a fight between people who want Europe as it is, or more Europe, and those who are less Europe, or to want to dismantle
Europe. He's the one who decided to frame it like that.
Yeah, clearly, he wanted to be the hero of more European integration because he has been elected on that topic. Everybody told him not to present himself as a pro-European. He did it, and he won the election.
And when you look now at what's going on, if you were cynical, Olivier Costa, would you say that this is a win-win situation for both sides? You heard Christian Blasberg describe this as politicking. Is it going to be a vote-getter for both Macron and for those that are in the populist coalition over in Italy?
No, I think it's a very dangerous game because it's not about a conflict between Finland and Malta. It's a conflict between France and Italy. Italy is the second economic partner for France. It's really a crucial relation, and you cannot just damage that relation for electoral concerns. And I had the feeling that the Italian leaders, just after Macron has called back the ambassador, have tried to calm down the whole thing, saying that we are ready for a discussion, etc., etc. So I think that everybody is very concerned about that, and nobody has nothing to win in such a situation because it could have a lot of economic and political consequences.
Ignazio Corrao, how far could it go?
Well, I think it won't go far. They think that, I mean, I told you before, I mean, we have lots of respect for the French people, the French government, and we will find a solution. But something has to be clear. Emmanuel Macron, you were saying, you know, is a hero of a new Europeism. And the way he's doing the hero is like bringing migrants to the other side of the frontier, to Italy. So the things that we've seen in Bardonecchia. What we see is that many times our cousins, you know, the French that we love and we want to work together, are bullying, you know, the younger cousins in Italy. So what we are asking now is just a little of respect, because I understand Macron doesn't want anyone to interfere with domestic affairs in France, but Macron is always interfering with domestic affairs of the others. So if we go with double standards, of course, it can be a difficult situation. But if we go with the idea of respecting each other in the same way, and we ask the French government to do so, we absolutely are on the position of cooperating, working together, because we are absolutely aware that the European project has to go on and we have to work and cooperate with France. And the five-star movement, which is the majority part of the Italian government, is absolutely pro-European and is working to create a better Europe, a Europe that doesn't think about the financial powers, the banking system, and the multinational corporation, as Macron does, but thinks about the social problems of European citizens, of all the 27, 28 states. This is our aim, and this is what we are trying to do across Europe. So, of course, we want to work with them.
Christian Blasberg.